Memorizing the notes on the guitar is very important. You know, I even have a course called GPS that is very effective. It's what I use, and I teach, you know, this method to my students. So I'd recommend you check that out. But even with knowing the notes on the guitar, it's helpful to look at the guitar from a geometric standpoint and also use mnemonics to help us to memorize these patterns on the guitar. So let's take a look at the first position of the minor pentatonic scale, you know, geometrically, okay? So the first pattern that we have on the guitar on the low E, right, we're going to be looking at E minor pentatonic again. So we've got this minor third from 12 to 15, okay, that's a minor third interval, and then from 15 to 17, that's a whole step, okay? So why don't we give this shape a name, and we're going to call it right, okay, because as we look down at this shape, the whole step from this perspective appears on the right, okay? So let's go to the next pattern on the next string here, on the A string. We've got 12, 14, 17, okay? So now we see the whole step on the left because we've got whole step followed by a minor third. So let's give this pattern name left, okay? And then we go to the D string, we see another left pattern, right? Okay, so let's go to the G string. Now we see two whole steps, okay? So let's give this shape the name center because it looks centered, it looks balanced. All right. Then when we go to the B string, we have right, right. So one way to describe this scale ascending would be right, left, left, center, right, right. Okay. Well, there's actually a sequence of patterns, if you will, that occur in the scale over and over and over again. And if you just memorize the sequence, that helps you to see the scale, to play the scale. And that sequence is right, right, left, left, center. Again, it's right, right, left, left, center. Now, depending on what note you're starting on in the minor pentatonic, will depend on where you start within that right, right, left, left, center sequence, okay? But it's always going to flow in that direction if you're ascending, okay? So if we look at the first position of the minor pentatonic, we're actually starting on the second right of that sequence. Remember how it goes right, right, left, left, center? So we're starting on the second right. So we got right, and then we have left, left, center. Now what's after that? Then it goes back to right, right. Correct? So, you know, when you take a look at the 5 positions of the minor pentatonic in this way, 3 notes per string horizontally, you're going to see that sequence of right, right, left, left, center reappearing over and over again. And I'm going to have that on the accompanying PDFs, so check that out. Okay guys, I wanted to give you some more tips in helping you memorize these patterns using the mnemonic sequence I just spoke of. So once you understand this mnemonic sequence and how it works, the right, right, left, left, center, and how it moves across the fretboard, let me show you some other tips here. So let's say you had the first position memorized, that you understood that, okay, the first position starts with the second right, and then it goes left, left, center, and then starts over again, right, right. You got all that. But then you may ask, okay, how do I know what the next position begins with, right? So one key to that is to look at the G through the high E. The G, B, and high E string is the key, as it were, that unlocks the next position. Notice that on the G string we have center and then on the B, right, and then on the high E, right. Now let's take a look at the next position. Okay, let me make this a little smaller here. So again, we've got center, right, right over here on the G, B, and high E. So when we go to the next position, look at this, center, right, right. Now once you have that much information, you will know the rest, because if you understand that the sequence that we use is right, right, left, left, center, okay, and here we're on center, so you know center, right, right, and then after that you've got two lefts, and it goes back to the center. Whatever you start with, that's what you're going to end with. See, here we started with the center, and that's what? A low E string. And that's what we're going to end with on the high E string. Okay? So again, one of the keys that unlocks the next position is if you look at the G string in your current position. You look at the G string and you see here, left, left, center, right? So we're correct. Let's go over here to the next position here. We have left, left, center, just like here, left, left, center. So once we know that, okay, the next position begins with left, left, center, we can fill in the rest if you've memorized right, right, left, left, center, and how that repeats over and over again. Okay, so let's another tip that I want to give you is that in every position, when you go from the G to the B string, okay, that you're going to have to shift up a fret except at position 1. Position 1 is just straight across, notice. Now let's look at position 2 right here from the G to the B string. Notice how you have to shift up a fret. Let's look at position 3. You shift up a fret. Position 4, same thing. Shift up a fret. And position 5, you got to shift up a fret. So that's another tip. Okay, another one that I want to share with you is that after a center pattern is right, okay, because let's look at the pattern like this right here. So here's our core mnemonic, right, right, left, left, center. And then it just repeats, right, right, left, left, center, and so on and so on. Okay, so after every center is a right. Okay? So let's look at the neck diagram here. So what I wanted to share with you is that after every center, when you go to the right, you have to shift down a fret. Okay, so we got center going to right. We had to shift down a fret. Let's look at this next position here. Center to right, we had to shift down a fret. Let's see this one right here. Center to right, we shift down a fret. Let's see, center going to right, we have to shift down a fret. The only position that it doesn't do that in is the first position, and that's because of the tuning of the strings. From the G to the B string, that's a major third apart, and that's why that shape is just straight across like that. But all the other strings where you have a center shape going to a right shape, those string sets are tuned in fourths, and that's why you have that where you have to shift down a fret. So that's some tips that's going to help you get this down. You know, there's no substitution for just memorizing the notes on the neck and, you know, being able to spell out the scale. You want to be able to do that, but this mnemonic is just a guide to help you as well memorize these patterns. Okay, now let's take a look at position 2 of the E minor pentatonic. So let's go here to the 15th fret of the low E. Okay, so in the low E we've got 15, 17, 19. Now normally I'll get the question of, hey Derryl, you know, do you use your middle finger or your ring finger for that middle note? And I don't know, that all depends. Depends on where I'm going and where I've come from, because sometimes I'll play it like this and sometimes I'll play it like that. So it just really all depends. Now on the next pattern that occurs in the scale, that minor third followed by a whole step, now that is whenever I would use the ring finger. So let's take a look at that. So on the A string, okay, we've got 14, and then we have 17, 19, okay, and we were calling that shape right a while ago. So we've got center on the low E, and then a right on the A string. Okay, now when we go to the D string, okay, we've got 14, 17, 19. There's another right, because remember it's right, right, left, left, center. So with this particular pattern, it starts on the center, and it's going to go center, right, right, left, left, and so forth, center. And, you know, that is just to, you know, it's like training wheels. It's just to help you out. You know, it's not a fix-all, because, you know, you still have to know, like, you know, sometimes you're going to have to shift down a fret or shift up a fret. You know, you can't just use that pattern and just play it straight across the guitar. There might be some shifts involved, just like we have here. So going from the low E to the A string, we have to like shift down a fret, okay? Anyway, so the right, right, left, left, center is just kind of like a guide, if you will. Okay, so we've got a center here on the low E, then we have right on the A string, and then right on the D string. Okay, and again, that's 14, 17, 19. And then on the G string, we have a left, okay, and that's 14, okay, 16, and then 19. Okay, and then on the B string, we have a left, okay, 15, 17, 20. And then finally on the high E, we have center. Okay, whatever happens on the low E happens on the high E, and vice versa. Whatever happens on the high E is going to be on the low E. That's another little tip to keep in mind. Okay, so you know, and I was talking about fingerings a little bit ago. Notice on the G string, okay, if you go to your G string and notice I'm playing that left pattern at 14, 16, and 19, and notice I'm using my middle finger here, right? You don't want to use your ring finger. That wouldn't make any sense, okay? You want to use your middle finger when you have that whole step followed by a minor third. And then again, when you have the minor third followed by the whole step, you want to use your ring finger. Okay, so now how would we practice this? Well, we want to use our practice tool, okay, the cycle of perfect fourths. So let's transpose this scale, okay, this position, to the key of C. Now before you do that though, you want to have this down pretty well. You want to practice it in this position and just get it down to where you feel comfortable enough to move it around on the guitar with the least amount of mistakes. Okay, before we leave position 2, let's talk about where the root is. You know, with position 1, we know the root is here at the 12th fret on the low E, and then again here on the 14th fret of the D string, and then we see it again here on the high E at the 12th fret. So with position 2, we see it here on the A string at the 19th fret, then again on the 14th fret here on the D string, and then lastly here at the 17th fret of the B string. I tend to focus in on the D string for position 2 with my first finger, and then my second finger here on the B string. So what's the point of knowing where the roots are? Well, you know, let's say that I wanted to play an A minor pentatonic with position 2. You know, well, I know my A is here on the D string and then here on the B string, right? So I know exactly, you know, where to put that pattern, because I know the notes on the guitar and I know where the roots are. So it's very important to keep track of that, especially like if you're getting into playing jazz and fusion where you have a lot of changes. you'll just find it so helpful. Alright, now let's look at position 3. So on the low E, we're here at 17, 19, 22. Then on the A string is 17, 19, 22. Then on the D string we have 17, 19, 21. Then on the G string is 16, 19, 21. Then on the B string is 17, 20, 22. And then on the high E we have 17, 19, 22. Now as for our mnemonic, it's going to be left, left, center, right, right, left. So remember our mnemonic was right, right, left, left, center, and see that repeats over and over again. So this starts at the first left within that sequence. Okay, again, so it's left, left, center, right, right, left. Okay, now let's talk about where is the root within this position. So we find the root here on the A string with our middle finger here at the 19th fret. Okay, and then here at the on the G string at the 21st fret. And then on the B string we have it here on the 17th fret. So I tend to focus in on the A string with my middle finger here on the 19th fret. That's where I like to think about it, closest to the low E. And then closest to the high E, I like to think about it here on the B string here at the 17th fret. Alright, now let's move on to position 4. So with position 4, let's go to the low E at the 7th fret. Okay, so we have 7, 10, 12. Then on the A string we have 7, 10, 12. On the D string we have 7, 9, 12. And then on the G string 7, 9, 12. Then on the B string we have 8, 10, 12. And then on the high E 7, 10, 12. Now as for our mnemonic, right? Remember our mnemonic, again, it's right, right, left, left, center. Well, this is where it's based off of, actually, is position 4. And the reason why I start the mnemonic that way is because it's really easy to remember. You know, 2 rights, 2 lefts, a center. And, you know, that's what we have right here. We have 2 rights, 2 lefts, center. Then it goes back to the right. Okay, now let's talk about where is the root. Okay, so we have a root here at the 12th fret of the low E. Then we have one here on the A string at the 7th fret. And then we have one here at the 9th fret on the G string. And then we have one here on the high E at the 12th fret. I like to think about the roots for this particular pattern on the A string here at the 7th fret, and either the G string, middle finger, or the high E, my pinky right here. That's where I normally think about where the roots are with this particular position. Alright, now we're at the last position, position 5. So let's go here to the 10th fret of the low E. Okay, so we're going to have 10, 12, 15. Okay, and then we're going to go to the A string and we're going to have 10, 12, 14. Then go to the D string and we have 9, 12, 14. And then again on the G string, 9, 12, 14. Then on the B string we have 10, 12, 15. And then on the high E, 10, 12, 15. Now in regards to our mnemonic, again, remember it's right, right, left, left, center. Okay. So this is going to start on the second left, okay, of our mnemonic. So we've got left, center, right, right, then left, left. Okay, so again, left, center, right, right, left, left. Okay, now let's think about where is the root. So we have a root here on the 12th fret with our middle finger. Okay, so that's our reference point right here. Okay, and that's, you know, on the low E. And then so closest to the high E will be on the high E, and then that's again with our middle finger right here at the 12th fret. Okay, so, you know, it's okay to also think about, you know, other locations, like we have an E note here on the G string with our first finger, right? But the main thing is I want you to memorize where the roots are closest to the low E and closest to the high E. Hey guys, that's it for now. Stay tuned for part 3, where we're going to get into some really exciting sequences and concepts. I hope you'll be able to join me.